Hi, I'm Rick Bayless.
I'm Jorge Gaviria.
This is the guy who wrote the book on masa, the best thing that's ever been written on corn masa. So what are we going to be making today?
We're going to do a quesadilla today, which you know very well, of course.
And don't click off because you think you know about quesadillas, because we're going to take you into some really cool territory.
Yeah, Rick knows how to make them better than I do, so I'm just going to make the masa and learn a little bit too in the process.
So we're starting with Masa Harina.
Yeah.
The masa is, when it's originally made, going to be a paste. So this is that paste that has then been dehydrated and powdered.
Exactly. Yeah, it goes through that 8 to 12 hour process of nixtamalization. It's stone ground. But so that you don't have to do that all in 8 to 12 hours, because this is a short segment we're doing. Right. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this together with using Masa Harina, which is the next best thing.
I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the measuring that Jorge was doing there was not what we would call precise.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to be precise with it, typically with Masa Harina, it's about 1 cup of Masa Harina to 1 cup of liquid, give or take, and then you start to kind of just get to the point where you feel it. You're looking for a masa that's wet, but not sticky and tacky.
You don't want it to be so sticky that it sticks to anything.
This would be sticky, but I'm not. But I'm not done mixing it. So this is like what you don't want. Yeah, and I think one of the common misconceptions about corn tortillas, I don't know if you get this a lot, is that people say they like a wheat tortilla better because it's it's less dry, it's less brittle. But really, you can get a corn tortilla to taste the same way.
Oh, you certainly can. And the problem is that most people have never had a good corn tortilla.
So I'm a couple things. I did say earlier that we like to have it so it's not like this. It's not sticking to your fingers. But given that this is going to dry out a little bit over the time before we actually cook it, I'm cheating a little bit and I'm giving it a little bit of extra moisture so it doesn't get too.
And I always think that when it's done just right, that there's going to be a little residue on your hands. It's not sticking like in clumps, but there's always going to be masa residue on your hand. So it's to me a little softer than Play-Doh. I don't know, maybe that also is aging me a lot.
No, I've got a 1-year-old at home, and I'd actually rather her play with this because I feel like Play-Doh is like not actually edible, but
it's not.
All right, so I'm gonna grab here our tortilla press.
Okay,
all right,
so we're gonna switch spots here, and I have a couple of pieces of. This is vegetable bag from the grocery store, cut in rounds to go in here. Press is super easy. And I'm going to, sometimes people like to turn it 180 degrees because the presses are not always just completely flat. So you could give it another gentle press that way. And I am going to unmold it onto my hand, aligning it up with my top fingers there like that. And then I can just peel this off like that and have it dangle, okay? And then I'm gonna catch it like that and then roll my hand. It will come out away from my hand.
Just a nice caress onto the comal. And this is a comal, which is really basically another word for griddle. Comali, it comes from the Nahuatl word, right? But it's this is basically, you can use any pan at home. We're using a non-stick comal, actually carbon steel to be precise. But any non-stick surface will work.
Okay, so it's getting on the edges a little bit dry looking. You don't want to let this go for very long at all, this side of it.
Quick sear, basically, not too much color to kind of lock in that moisture.
And now we're going to make the quesadilla. So in Oaxaca, there's 2 ways to approach making this quesadilla. One is to not flip the tortilla, but then you get sort of this raw masa layer in there. And I don't like it, a lot of people don't like it, but we flipped it here and then put down some cheese on there. I'm gonna take a couple of these squash blossoms and put them on there, peel the sepals off the outside of it, tear it open, and then pull the pistil out of that. And then you just tear them up to make a squash blossom quesadilla. If you're any place in Mexico that does squash blossom quesadillas, they'll almost always use epazote in it. And we're super lucky now in the United States that epazote is here. And now we're gonna just fold it like that, okay? And I will say, we will let this toast until the squash blossoms are completely softened, which won't take very long. Epazote will soften in the same amount of time, and we can just keep turning it. Now, if you were in Oaxaca, it would be like this but bigger, and it would be on a clay comal, on a clay griddle, and that changes the texture of the masa because it sucks moisture out of the masa, whereas this won't suck out any of the masa moisture at all. So it gives you a different kind of texture, I would say, in it. But what I like about these is that they have this really wonderful kind of crunchiness on the outside.
Love that.
And if you only know quesadillas as the Mexican toasted cheese sandwich made with flour tortillas, this will be a revelation. I'm just going to do this one more of them here.
As we get these together, I'll just do a quick shameless plug. It's just what we do. Masa.
If it was a bad book, it would be shameless. This is not
Techniques,
shameless.
recipes, and reflections on a timeless staple. I'm so proud to have written this book. It honestly would not be possible without the work that Rick and so many folks have put into just researching. Like, it was really made my job quite easy to make this book. So thank you, Rick.
It's a great book. Shall we taste it?
That would be great.
Okay. Now, I like this one with salsa verde, which I have here. There
so pretty. Thank you.
So beautiful with squash blossoms.
Oh, beautiful.
If you really want
Rick.
to show them off other than stuffing them and frying them.
Does it pass your test?
I think it takes me right to Oaxaca.
This was so delicious, Rick. Thank you so much for walking through it.
It's my pleasure.
We have some more masa, so let's just keep going.